Welcome back to the podcast, the recording, Presence of Being podcast. Thank you so much for being here and watching and listening. I'm trying something new for the very first time. If you are on the YouTube, you'll be able to see the visual that goes alongside this recording. I don't normally have any sort of introduction to these recordings or to these videos, and I do that intentionally. But what I do is I have majority of times on the YouTube, you will see a quick, brief picture that'll say, get present, take a deep breath, get present, before watching, before listening, and then I'll have some meditation music going on in the background. And the point of that is just to literally, hopefully inspire you to be present, just be aware of your surroundings, be aware of your environment, and be in the moment, just be here now before actually listening. Just before listening to the recording, you just get present, you get still. The thing that you're stressed about, the thing that you're worried about, maybe you're thinking about something that happened in the past, or you're thinking about your to-do list or something that you need to do in the future, you just put that aside for a second, you just get present, you're just in the moment, you're here, you're now, you're present, and then you listen, and hopefully you'll just be able to get more value from the actual content itself. That's the main purpose of that little 5 to 7 second clip that I have at the beginning of each video. Now I'm trying something new for the YouTube. You can actually see the visual that goes alongside with this recording. I don't know if I'm gonna do this permanently. Maybe I will, maybe I won't, or maybe at some point I'll get a higher quality camera. I'm just shooting this off my iPhone right now. I'm sure at some stage I will upgrade my equipment. I do normally have a mic that I use. It's okay, it's not anything crazy, but for some reason I find that the quality of these recordings actually might be better when I'm just talking into my phone. But yes, again, I'm gonna do this hopefully at the beginning of each and every single recording or every single video. Just be present, take a deep breath before you start. Just be present, be here, maybe look around your environment, look around the room that you're in. If you're walking, what kind of things do you notice? Don't necessarily label the things that you're seeing, but just be present. If you're sitting down, listening to this, just be aware, be present, feel inside your body, get centered, just be still. Because I truly believe that when you're present, when you're still, when you're centered, you're gonna be able to get more value, hopefully, from a recording like this. Everything that I'm building with Presence of Being is with the intention of just promoting that present lifestyle. Being present, operating from a present state of being, that's why it's called Presence of Being. Being centered, being still, and living that life. Living a still and present life. And that's, again, essentially just what I'm trying to build here, what I'm trying to promote with our community and everything that I do. Not only that, but that's truly, I believe that opportunities are presented to us when we are more in the moment, when we're more present, we're more connected with presence. I think that's when we open ourselves up to opportunities that present themselves in life that we can take and grab and just become better versions of ourselves through those opportunities. I think when we are present, we are more truly authentic to ourselves, and we're the best versions of ourselves. So the purpose of this recording and the reason why I'm making this recording is to talk about your attention and why your attention is an incredibly valuable asset. And we're going to talk about attention in terms of course, the present moment, and how placing your attention in between what's going on outside of you and what's going on inside of you, when you're truly able to be centered and present within the now, you're able to experience all the benefits that come with living life in the now. When you are conscious and pay attention to the source of your attention, everything starts to change. Everything starts to change for the better when you become the source of your attention and are aware of the source of your attention. When you are aware of where you are putting your attention and you take the time to examine where you are mentally, where your mental focal point is, when you're aware of what kind of things you are giving your energy and attention to, you realize that you've probably been giving your attention out for free in some capacity, and you could stop doing that and just take your power back and realize that the places that you are giving your energy and attention, the things that we are giving our energy and attention to consistently are going to continuously show up in our lives. So many people nowadays are living their life on autopilot because they continuously give their energy and attention to the same things over and over and over again, and they have no control over what they're giving their energy and attention to. It just becomes this pattern of events, and consistently they just keep on doing it and they keep on draining their energy. If you continuously give your energy and attention to the same things over and over again, it's going to become a habit, it's going to become a cycle, and you're not going to have control over the kind of things that you continuously give your energy. So this video is inspired by, or this recording is inspired by Vadim Zeland, who is the author of Reality Transurfing and Tufti the Priestess. Those are two books that you can read. They're very in-depth and very complicated, but one key topic that Vadim Zeland talks about in Tufti the Priestess is the idea that so many people are living their life on autopilot by being either so immersed in what's going on outside of them in their environment, or so deeply identified with their thoughts in their inner world, in their inner environment, that they just really have no control over the things that are going on, that they're essentially sleeping, they're sleepwalking, they're on autopilot. Reality is here and now in this very moment. And like I've said many times in many different recordings and many different videos, the present moment is the only moment that we experience, and your relationship with the present moment is going to determine what your relationship is going to be like with the so-called future, or in the so-called future. The relationship that you have with the things that you want in the so-called future. When you spend all of your time and energy so deeply immersed in what is going on around you in your environment, when you deeply identify with everything that's going on around you, and you're so immersed in the world of form, in your environment, in your external world, in the external, you lose touch of yourself internally, and you're on autopilot. Now, the same is true in the opposite sense. When you're so attached to what is going on within you, when you're so deeply identified in thought, and you continuously go down the rabbit hole of thought, you lose sense and lose touch of what is going on around you, and you're on autopilot. If you think about it, most people are addicted to thought. They're addicted to thinking. They can't stop thinking. They don't know how to disidentify themselves with the thoughts that they have continuously. And as Vadim Zeland says in Reality Transurfing and in Tufti the Priestess, again, you can listen to those books on Audible, you can find them on YouTube, you can read them. He'll say, when you're so deeply identified with what's going on outside of you, and you're so deeply identified with what's going on within you, your thoughts, you're sleepwalking through life. You're on autopilot. You are not present. You are not centered. And of course, because you're not present, you don't have a good relationship with the now. You don't have a good relationship with the present moment. Your life is directly going to be affected by that. Because so many people are so deeply identified with what is going on outside of them and what is going on internally with their thoughts, they're essentially, like I said, sleepwalking. So he says in the book, Vadim Zeland says in the book, when you're dreaming, you're sleeping. But also, because so many people are on autopilot, they're essentially also asleep as they're living their life normally. He says that both in dreaming and in waking life, people are asleep. So one way to wake up from this dream, one way to wake up from being asleep, or one way to not be in autopilot anymore, is to put your energy and your attention on being centered, on being present, which allows you to be in between both the inner and the outer. If you can place your energy and attention and awareness on being here, being in the moment, it's going to enable you to not be stuck in here all the time in your thoughts. And it's also going to enable you not to be so deeply identified with what's going on around you in your environment, in the external. When you're stuck in your head all the time, you're sleeping, you're on autopilot, because you aren't aware of the opportunities that present themselves in your environment, and you aren't aware of your environment, generally speaking, and you can't capitalize on the opportunities that present themselves because you're in your head, you're stuck, you're thinking all the time. You may be regretful about something that happened in the past. You could be anxious about something that may happen in the future. You're just going from thought to thought to thought to thought. And when you're so deeply identified with what's going on in your environment, you aren't aware of your inner world. You're just so deeply identified with what's going on around you. I'm sure we all know that one person, or maybe you've been that person from time to time, where you're just so caught up in the drama that happens all around us that you lose this sense of self because you aren't connected with who you are at your core. You aren't connected with your inner world. You aren't connected with yourself internally. So this is a direct quote from Tufti the Priestess. And he says, when you are lost in thought, your attention is totally immersed on the inner screen, in the inner screen, on the internal. When this is the case, you may not notice what is happening around you and be acting on autopilot. Conversely, when your attention is occupied by something external in the external, you forget yourself and again act reflexively. In order to wake up, he says, find a midpoint between the two screens. From this point, you will be able to observe your thoughts and what is going on around you. You will be able to see the reality that surrounds you and yourself within this reality. Nothing is stopping you from watching both screens at the same time. You can do this. And again, you're going to be able to do this through presence. When you're centered and you're present throughout the course of your day, and we're going to talk about how to actually do that, how to actually stay consistent with some sort of presence practice, you're able to wake up and really start to view life from this stillness, from this centered place where you aren't deeply identified with what's going on outside of you and you aren't so lost in thought all the time. And again, just be present for a second and realize that I'm sure we've all been there. Think about a time in your life where you've just been so deeply invested or so deeply identified with what is going on in your environment. Or think about a time in your life where you're just so stuck in thought. You can't get present. You don't really care about what's going on around you. You're just lost in thought. You may be thinking about something nonstop. We've all been there. You're asleep or you're riding on autopilot when you're in those two states. Being present, being centered allows you to be in the midpoint of those two states. And that's why I said at the very beginning of this video, we're going to talk about your energy and your attention, because you're going to be aware and you're going to be just like fully here and now when you're in that midpoint. And also this ties directly into what Napoleon Hill talks about all the time with drifting. If you're asleep, if you're on autopilot, you're essentially drifting. It's in complete alignment with what Napoleon Hill talks about in like Think and Grow Rich or Outwitting the Devil, for example, if you've read any of those books. Learning to be aware of thought by being present and learning to be aware of everything that's going on around you in your environment allows you to take your power back so you can really be selective with what you give your energy and attention to, because you're no longer living life asleep or on autopilot. When you operate from this midpoint in between both inner and outer, where you're really in this observer state, you are going to view reality in a different way, from a different lens, because you aren't identified with what is going on outside of you, and you aren't identified with your thoughts. And as Eckhart Tolle says, ego is attachment to form, whether that be thought form or form in your environment, things, people, objects. Ego wants to attach your self-worth, your identity to form. When you disassociate from form, you let go of ego. And that is essentially what we're doing here. By practicing being present and allowing yourself to be in that midpoint where you are no longer sleeping, no longer operating from autopilot, and you're just aware. You access this level of awareness, being in this observer mode. And if you think about this more on like a concrete or surface level of understanding, so many people, their confidence, their level of self-worth is dependent upon what is going on outside of them in their environment. So when things aren't going right externally, their confidence takes a hit, their self-worth takes a hit. Now think about this in terms of your thoughts also. If you are so deeply identified with what is going on with your thoughts, instead of being the awareness of your thoughts, being aware of your thoughts, think about how that's going to negatively impact your confidence or your self-worth. So many people think negatively. Majority of people think negative thoughts. Being the observer, being in the midpoint by being present, being centered, you're just the observer. You're the observer of what's going on around you. You aren't identified with it. Same thing with your thoughts. You're not attached to your thoughts. You're just aware of them. You're just aware of your thoughts. And that's what I mean. You really take your power back when you do this, because you're the one in control. So I'm going to continue reading from Tufti the Priestess here, because this is how you essentially act and operate from that level of presence, from that observer mode, where you're in between both inner and outer. He says, to wake up in a dream or waking reality, you must pull your attention away from the inner and outer screen and shift it into your awareness center. And that awareness center is the now, the present moment. Find a midpoint between the two screens. From this point, you will be able to observe your thoughts and what is going on around you. You will be able to see the reality that surrounds you and yourself within this reality. Nothing is stopping you from watching both screens at the same time. Again, you can do this. Your awareness center is an observation point from which you can see where your attention is directed in any one moment and what it is focusing on. At the same time, you see what you are doing and what is going on around you. So one key method to accessing this awareness state in the present moment is asking yourself, where am I? What am I currently doing? What is around me? Where is my attention right now? Right now, you've just woken up and found yourself at the awareness point. Here I am, and this is the reality that surrounds me. I am aware, I can see myself, and I can see reality. That is how you wake up. That is how you get present. By being aware of what is going on around you, taking a deep breath, and asking yourself, who am I? What is going on around me? In addition to that, also, and I've mentioned this many times in my videos, meditate. If presence allows us to access this observer mode, this awareness state, meditating is probably the number one thing that I would recommend. In addition to asking yourself, who am I? Where am I? What is currently going on around me? Meditate. Practicing 5 minutes of meditation every single day will be probably one of the most beneficial things you could do in order for you to access this level of presence within, so you can access that midpoint, and allows you to just be still, be centered. So get into the observation point, telling yourself, I see myself and I see reality. Set yourself the intention, today I'm going to stroll through a waking dream, and go for a walk wherever you like, to work or university, in this state of clarity. This is how you become self-aware. This is how you become present, and really it just enables you to act in that midpoint from this observer mode, where you aren't identified with what is going on around you in your environment, and you aren't identified with your thoughts. It's incredibly powerful when you do this. I'm telling you, so many people are so deeply identified with their thoughts. So many people are so deeply identified with what's going on around them in their environment that they are not themselves. You become more of yourself. You become your authentic self. You become just who you are when you're more connected with yourself in the moment through presence. And that's what I said at the beginning of this video too. You become the best version of yourself when you're just in the moment, in presence. So just to make this a bit clearer, because I understand this is kind of complicated, the outer screen is everything that's going on in your external, the things that you see physically in your reality, and the inner screen is just your thoughts, going down the rabbit hole of thought, getting lost in thought, whatever you're constantly thinking about that sucks you out of the present moment. There is this nice present spot in between both inner and outer. And when you're operating from presence, you access that state where you're just aware. You're just aware of what is going on around you. It allows you to be aware of your thoughts without identifying yourself with your thoughts. And that's a great place to be. You are more of your authentic self when you access that state. When you access that state, you become a light in a room filled with moths. People are drawn to you. They may not even know why they're drawn to you, just because you have this presence within you that you're just imbuing. You become a magnet. When you operate from this level of energy, you increase your vibration, and people, things, opportunities are just drawn to you. If you can learn to hold this state of presence or awareness where you're in this observer mode, in that midpoint between internal and external, watch what happens in your life. Watch what you feel like, see what you feel like, experience what you feel like, experience the opportunities that come to you, that come your way, the kind of people you interact with when you operate from this level of awareness and presence as you go about your day, where you're not so invested with what's going on externally and aren't attached to what is going on externally, and you aren't attached to what is going on in your head, your thoughts all the time. You see yourself and you see reality. You're awake. You're not operating on autopilot anymore. You aren't sleepwalking anymore. You're present, you're aware. See what happens when you do this consistently. When you are present, when you operate from this observer mode, watch and see what happens, and watch how at peace you feel. You're just gonna feel like yourself. You're gonna tap back into your authentic self, and watch how you kind of float through life. Like, things that once bothered you won't necessarily bother you as much. You're gonna notice opportunities come your way. It's a lovely place to act from and operate from and live life from when you're in this observer mode, when you're operating through presence. So again, the 2 ways to access this state: meditating consistently, being present, having some sort of meditation practice. I would recommend for beginners 5 to 10 minutes every single day where you're just still meditating. That would be number 1. And number 2 is whenever you feel like you're lost in one of the 2 screens, whether it's external or internal, your thoughts, wake up. Who am I? Where am I? what is going on around me. See yourself and see reality. Also, when you meditate consistently, you're going to be able to access this aware, present state, this observer state, seamlessly. When you meditate consistently, it will be much easier to access this state. You won't have to call attention to your center and ask yourself, who am I, where am I, what am I doing, as frequently when you meditate consistently, because asking yourself those questions is kind of like a reminder when you're sleeping. When you're operating on autopilot, asking yourself those questions enables you to wake up. You won't need to wake up because you'll already be awake when you meditate consistently. At least that's from my understanding. And I am not perfect with this whatsoever. I operate on autopilot all the time and I'm asleep all the time. Nobody is perfect with this. I'm not some spiritual guru who has all the answers. I'm just talking about what is helped me in my life. And I know for a fact, meditating consistently has allowed me to access this awareness state, present state, pretty frequently. Like I can tap into just being aware, being at the midpoint between inner and outer when I meditate consistently. And when I do fall asleep, or when I notice that I am on autopilot, I remind myself of those questions. Where am I? Wake up. Who am I? Where am I? What's going on around me? What do I see? I literally say, I see myself. I see reality. And then that allows me to get present. That allows me to be in the moment. And then I go about the rest of my day. And again, I slip out of states. Sometimes I'll fall back asleep. Sometimes I'll go back to my old pattern, like all of us. And then you're on autopilot again. And then you got to ask yourself those questions again. And that's why I've said before in many videos, like I set reminders on my phone to go off, to remind me, who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? I'll look it down at my phone once I have the reminder and I'll see it says those questions. That will remind me to ask myself those questions. I get present and then I'm no longer sleeping. I'm no longer on autopilot. It wakes me up. But I do notice that when I meditate consistently, those reminders, I don't have to have them as frequently because I'm already present. I'm already awake. So that's why I said meditation is number one. Asking yourself those questions help. But when you have a meditation practice that you do consistently, that you implement into your life consistently, you're naturally going to be more awake, more aware, and operate from that awareness state. You're just going to be aware. And where you place your attention and energy, you're going to be more aware of it. And again, I'm going to read a little portion from Tufty the Priestess. If you're interested in learning more about this, it's a very thick book from Vadim Zeland. It's very complicated. So I'm just going to read a little bit more from it. It says, when you are in this state, this awareness observer state, you may come across to others as a little otherworldly. They vaguely sense there is something odd about you, but they cannot say what exactly. Don't worry. They're not aware that they are treating you with a certain friendliness and curiosity, and you don't let on that you know something they don't. Do you know where their friendliness towards you comes from, especially in those you don't even know? To them, you're like a firefly in a land of shadows. When you are in a state of conscious awareness, your energy flows differently. It can't be seen physically, but it can be felt subconsciously. When you operate from this awareness mode, when you're present, when you're just you, when you're operating from that midpoint, people can't necessarily know exactly what is different about you, but you are going to emanate this energy and people are just drawn to you. Like I said, you're like a firefly in a dark room. People don't know why they're attracted to you, but you become this magnet. And of course, it doesn't mean you're better than anybody. It just means that you're present, you're aware, you're here, you're now, you're centered. You aren't lost in the outer or in the inner. You aren't lost in what is going on around you externally, and you aren't lost in what is going on around you with your internally in your thoughts. You're just present, you're just still. And because so many people live life so consumed by their thoughts, or so consumed with everything that's going on around them externally, when you come across someone that's not like that, and you're just still and you're just present, people are able to pick up on that. Your energy introduces you first, like way before you say a word. People are just going to be able to pick up on your energy. It's high vibe. You become a magnet. So if you want an exercise, just go for a walk and just be aware. Look at your environment, but don't label things. If you have a thought, don't label your thought, just be aware of it. It's about being present, being aware, and living and existing in between both inner and outer, where you're just aware of what is going around you, you're just present, you're just calm, and it's a great place to be. So that's basically what I wanted to talk about in this recording. Be aware, be present. That's why at the beginning of most of these videos, or I try at the beginning of all these videos, to have that, 5 to 7 seconds where it's just like, take a deep breath before you listen to this. Be present, be still, be here now. You can remind yourself, who am I? Where am I? What am I doing right here, right now, as you're watching this video? And that's going to help you be more in the moment. Where you place your energy and attention is what you are going to experience more of. So if you put your energy and attention on the now, in presence, watch how enjoyable your life is going to get when you operate from this observer mode, in presence. So that is basically what I wanted to get across in this recording, in this video. I've never done this before in terms of like actually recording myself talking while making this video, while making a recording like this. So if you are listening to this on Spotify or Apple, go over to the YouTube and you can see me talking if that's what you want, if that's what you're interested in. Maybe it makes these videos more engaging. I don't know. I've never done it before. But if you enjoy me trying out this different format, let me know. And I'm more than happy to make more videos like this. But yeah, let me know. You can always DM me. I answer all my DMs on Instagram at Presence of Being. I do get DMs on TikTok, but it's easier for me on Instagram to read them and respond to them for some reason. And if you haven't checked out the Instagram already, join the community over there. We'll be happy to have you. And I'm just very grateful for everyone who's just joined the Presence of Being community and who's a part of our community. The hoodie that I'm wearing right now is a sample for a hoodie that I'm making for our community. If you're interested in that, or if you're interested in a hat, you can go to the website and get one if you want. But yeah, I'm just very grateful for everyone who's listening to these, who's left a positive comment on the podcast, on the YouTube, on just everything that we're doing. I'm so grateful that we're building this community. And if you're interested in presence, you're in the right spot. That's what Presence of Being is all about. So thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Also, you can shoot me a DM and let me know what kind of videos you want me to make or what kind of topics you want me to talk about. I'm more than happy to talk about them. But yeah, thank you again, and I will see you in the next recording.